So, welcome everybody. If this is your first time joining us, or if you were here last week, we're very grateful for you to spend time and space with us tonight. This is week 2 of the Love Yourself Well series, and tonight we are diving into a topic that many of us have experienced firsthand, releasing a lingering emotional and energetic and even physical ties to past relationships so that we can make space for new love, deeper self connection, and renewed vitality. So, if this is your first time joining us, we want to just introduce ourselves a little so you know who's guiding you through this journey. So, my name is Amy. If you don't know me, I'm Amy Kernicki, and I'm a holistic nutritionist, a regenerative health practitioner, an energy worker, and I specialize in regenerative detoxification, and not just in the physical level, but also the emotional. Sorry, let me get people in.
I want to be
The emotional and what was I? Michelle, I'd love for you to be able to let people in so I can.
That's what I'm doing. I just said I'm letting people in.
Thank you so much. Not just on the physical level, but the emotional and energetic level. So, a big part of my work is helping people release what's weighing them down, and whether that's toxic relationships, old emotional wounds, or even physical toxicity, like that toxic load comes in many different ways and keeps us in stuck cycles. So, Michelle, Michelle is
No,
my lovely co-host for this month, and we are working together in a bigger cohort after next month when we start. And Michelle is a wealth of knowledge on regenerative health, emotional healing, especially that mind-body connection. Michelle, do you want to share a little more about yourself?
you, Amy. Hi, everyone. So I'm honored to be here with you all tonight. My name is Michelle Rowland, and my passion is helping people truly understand the deeper connection between the physical body, emotions, and our energetic field. So my background is in regenerative health, detoxification, clinical iridology, and herbalism. But what I've come to realize through my own journey and through working with so many others is that healing isn't just about the physical body. It's about addressing the layers of emotional imprints, past traumas, and even the energetic debris that we can carry from relationships, past relationships, even current relationships that we are accumulating that debris from, and experiences and generational patterns as well. And so, one thing that I always say is that we are electrical light beings. Our bodies are deeply responsive to energies around us, whether it's in the food that we eat, the emotions that we suppress, or the relationships that we hold onto. It all plays a role in our overall well being. So that's why healing needs to be holistic, meaning that we address not just the physical detoxification, but also the emotional and spiritual detoxification process. So I've personally experienced how past emotional wounds, especially from relationships, can manifest in the body, whether it's chronic stress, digestive issues, or even fatigue. These unresolved experiences live within us until we consciously work to release them, right? So tonight's session is so powerful because it's all about clearing out what no longer serves us so that we can make room for the energy, love, and enlightenment that we truly desire. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this with you all. And I know that tonight's discussion is going to be super powerful. And so we're honored to have Matthew Ryan joining us tonight. Matthew is an energy healer who works with different plant medicines, soul retrievals, and entity clearing. His work focuses on releasing energetic imprints and attachments, including those that unknowingly we carry from the past relationships. Matthew, would you like to introduce yourself, give yourself a more formal introduction, deeper dive into?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for that. My name is Matthew Ryan. I live here in Taos, New Mexico. Been here for about 20 years, a little over 20 years. And for more than half of that time, I've been working as a professional healer, helping people to clear energies that are coming up in their life, helping them to identify energetic patterns that don't serve, in the last 5 or 6 years, have been really focusing also on guiding people through detoxification process as well as, running alongside awakening process using different types of plant medicines in a specific detoxification protocol. And I think that this topic is really kind of a pertinent one. We pick up lots of energy within our relationships, and all sorts of relationships. Positive, intimate relationships. We can even have connections like connective cords. Even like with our dry cleaner. Or like the person that we get into the Uber with. We can pick up energies like that, and so. I was asked to join this group tonight to help share a little bit about some of the techniques that I use in working with clients and to help us to be able to recognize the way in which we are impacted by all sorts of relationships and that even some of these techniques, they can be applied to other aspects of our life, even of clearing energies, clearing cords, even like with places or with an old job or things like that. So,
Mm.
yeah, I'm very happy to be here and to be able to share and speak about these things, and I think it's going to be great.
Well, and thank you. Thank you, Matthew, for coming and having us share space tonight. That's awesome. Before we just dig into our discussion, I'd like to take a moment to ground ourselves. I know we're all coming in from the closure of the day and just want to take a moment to get into our bodies. So if you feel comfortable and you're not driving, please maybe close down your eyes if it feels good to you. Take a big deep breath in and then a big exhale out. Just allowing yourself to fully arrive in this space. Feeling your breath moving through your body, feeling your feet connected to the earth, dropping your grounding cord into the heart of Mama Gaia, and just releasing anything that you were holding on to from the day. Whatever emotions or memories come up tonight, just know that you are safe, you are supported, and you are exactly where you need to be. Go ahead and take another deep breath in, breathing in love and breathing out safety. Breathing in love to every single cell of your body and breathing out safety, feeling fully grounded. And taking one more deep breath in, breathing in love and sending that love out into the universe. If you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to check in and drop a word or a phrase in the chat that describes how you feel maybe about past relationships now. Maybe it's like ready to release. Maybe it's still holding on. Maybe it's curious, hopeful. There's no right or wrong answer, but if there's anything coming up for you, feeling stuck. Thanks for sharing. Haunted. Sad. Some heavy emotions going on. I want to remind us that we just had a big full moon last night. So I know that I've been feeling kind of exhausted, and full moons bring up lots of cords and energies and parasites. So if there is anything moving through you, like let's check in and see if this is yours, if this is, or if this is somebody else's too. Sorry, Rose. Disappointed, gave it up. Thank you for participating, sharing. So we're going to talk a little bit about understanding energetic and emotional ties first. So what happens when we don't fully release an ex? So many people think that when a relationship ends, the connection automatically dissolves. Like we block them on Facebook and on Instagram and phone numbers, and then they're just gone. We hope and pray, right? But in reality, the emotional ties and the energetic cords, even the like physical imprints from a partner can remain long after a relationship is over. So have you ever had a ex just pop into your head out of nowhere? Can you put a one in the chat if that's ever happened to you? Yeah. Or you can like just feel their energy as if they were like still present in your life. Yeah, yeah. I definitely have. And that's because we form these energetic cords with people, and those cords don't just disappear after we stop talking to them. So they can still be attached. They pull at our energy, affecting our thoughts, even uh, influencing the way that we show up in new relationships. Has that ever happened to you where you're with someone new and they do something that an old person, or you do something that it used to trigger the old person, and you have to like unravel that a little bit and realize that you are separate? Yeah. So, beyond emotions, there's also this physical component. Parasites, for example, can be transmitted not just sexually, but energetically as well. Like backing up, just so you know, parasites are passed sexually. So all of this stuff that we pick up from people, our sexual partners, or like people that we have relationship with at work or school or something like that, like those, they're parasitic entities, we can pick those up too. So all of this stuff is shared. So just like emotional baggage, physical toxicity can linger in the body and impact your energy, your mood, and your ability to fully move on. Want to talk about soul contracts
Yeah.
and energetic cords?
No, I think, building on that, that's something that I see repeatedly in sessions with people when, especially if they are on the other side of the ending of a relationship, that, perhaps there were, energies or tensions within the relationship that were being influenced by these types of attachments, like what I call them hitchhikers. And you can actually see the connection from the hitchhiker making its way through your partner, and then they hook into our field. So this kind of relates to what the concept, I call it the trauma body, but like Eckhart Tolle, he calls the pain body, where we have energies that are stored within our field that relate to our past experiences, often traumatic experiences. And it's like those pieces of energy become the stimulation for the energetic hitchhiker, and then also, as Amy was saying, the physical parasites, the physical hitchhikers that we get within our bodies. They are literally infiltrated into the parts of our colon or our liver, other organ systems that are associated with the emotion. And so, it's a very important thing to be aware of as we're attempting to detox these energies. That's one major influence. And then also, Amy just mentioned soul contracts. The soul contracts are another way in which we have these connections with people. And so, what I mean by a soul contract, there can be a number of different types of soul contracts, a number of different intensities within a soul contract. So it's not always, like the soulmate twin flame type relationship. We can have soul contracts even with relationships that don't quite, reach that type of intensity. And how I understand this is that these contracts are basically agreements that are made with the other person's soul, with your former partner's soul energy before you incarnated. These energies get agreed upon so that we can go through our life, and in the moment when we come together with this person in a relationship, whether it be friendship or an intimate relationship, and then those contracts, then it's like they get activated and they come into play. These contracts could be reflecting lessons that need to be learned, maybe lessons that weren't learned in another lifetime, and so you've agreed to bring them forward in this lifetime, reflecting to each other the exact distortion or the exact wound that needs to be healed. And we bring those forward, then expressing these energies into our relationships. So that's often something that you want to take a look at as well when a relationship comes to an end, is to go in and try to identify whether or not the aspects of that contract were actually fulfilled. I kind of see a threshold in that work of like kind of like getting an A. Like if you can like hit 90%, if you can achieve the learning that you needed to achieve and kind of like get an A, then it's totally appropriate for those contracts to come to a close. But sometimes we don't quite get there, do we? Like sometimes we get in our own way, or maybe our former partner couldn't quite get to that point to heal themselves in the way that we needed to be able to go forward. And so if that contract doesn't come to a place of completion, we might recycle that contract, and maybe we magnetize towards ourselves another potential partner that is holding a similar kind of energy, so that we can bring it to a close, that we can come to integration.
So,
And then
also known as repeating patterns and learning the same lesson over and over again because you didn't learn it the first time.
Exactly. And this is part of being human, there's no judgment in any of this kind of analysis, and so therefore no judgment within ourselves. She's chewing the unicorn toy over there. So, being really easy with ourselves on the other side of the ending of a relationship, especially if we feel like there's unresolved energies there, it's just that lens that we were looking through in relationship to hopefully achieve that healing that we need. Maybe it wasn't that right moment, or maybe you actually did, you brought it to closure. And when we bring those contracts to a close, then you release all of that energy, and then the more of a fullness of your authentic being can come in. And then I guess that leads also into, we've mentioned these cords, these connective cords. That's the same terminology that I use in my work. And we have energetic connections that go between the energy centers with other human beings, like third eye to third eye, throat chakra to throat chakra. I see them like an actual fiber optic cable that connects into the other person's energy body. And just as a state of being in this world right now, these cords often get tangled. I call them tangles. It's just like, if Amy didn't brush her hair for 2 weeks, she's going to have some tangles in her hair for sure. And so we can do maintenance on these cords, learning techniques to be able to clear the cords within relationship. But then at the end of the relationship, a relationship comes to a close, then it's a good idea to take a look at, different ways in which we can clear those cords, especially if any of the cords are imprinted with something like an energetic hook or a hitchhiker accessing through, your partner's cord, etc. Disconnecting those out of our field so that there's no longer any energy that is like bleeding towards that other person. And this is what I believe a lot of times, like Amy was giving those examples, when you suddenly a partner from years ago even pops into your mind, and it triggers an emotional response, that could be an indicator that there's a connection that is still open there that may or may not be serving you. So, I think that those are all some different things to consider, and ways in which these energies express with our relationships. And like that as well, like I'd mentioned beginning, it's not even just with relationships with people, but these types of energies can also exist like within places or within our place of employment and things like that. Here we have Atlas is saying hi. Um, but yeah, when we go through and use the some different techniques, we can actually clear those energies and bring it to resolution, freeing yourself then from those old patterns.
Yeah. When we have these cords attached, what was coming in for me when you were speaking, is like we don't feel like our whole selves. We feel drained, and it's because we don't have all of us in. So a lot of times in my sessions or in meditation, I am calling back all of my parts, all of myself that may have leaked out, that may have gone here and here and here. That's with my family and like that's a really good practice of energetic cleansing, daily hygiene of calling your energy back to you, calling it back washed and cleansed. Like usually I'm picturing a violet flame around me and everything coming back washed and cleansed. And giving anything back that I'm holding on to of anyone else's with love, sending it back with love. So
Unplugging from the wall, like of
mm,
all your cords. It's like envisioning your electrical cords or your connected cords as electrical cords that are plugged into a wall that has only so many sockets. And you've seen people who just like have like 15 cords plugged into like this, weak
yes,
socket
I
or
love that
Yeah.
power
analogy.
strip. And it's just like you have to go in and like, okay, this is overpowering
Yeah,
this power cord. We need
they're
to
about to start on fire.
plugging and start detangling those cords and start plugging them in. I'm so anal about that with my electrical cords in the house. Nothing can be crossed or tangled, and everything has to, like, it's got to be efficient. And so that's the kind of way that I see the energetic cords that we are attached to too. We only have so many outlets that we can allow that energy to flow in and out of our body. And when it's over inundated with other energies and entities, then we start getting, that override system and short circuited we don't want to do. So
Relax.
We have
We
a
have hot dog action
puppies.
going on this side. Okay, come on, girls.
Does anyone
Go
have a
out there.
share about this? Is this striking a chord with anyone strongly? Does anyone want to share?
Definitely strikes a chord with me. Everything that you've said really resonates, just coming out of a very manipulative and toxic relationship within the past 3 months and talking about all of the chords and how that impacts your body. Everything completely resonated with me. I thought you were talking about me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
um, I'll share like when I came out of a really toxic relationship. I went to Matthew for a session because I mean I did the parasite cleanse, I did the herbs, I did all of that. I did some fire, I burned a lot of shit, mostly his, and and it's powerful. And I was just still like, there is something on me that I need some help with, and like I went to Matthew for a session, and he saw this like hitchhiker that I mean this person had an addiction and a problem and like and when people are in that lower vibration of addiction, that is a perfect opportunity of when entities are coming into their field and sucking on them, and maybe they don't have any light left, but I did. And that entity was coming, putting its cords in and trying to manipulate me through that person. What a, yeah. A hitchhiker is like an entity that is like hitching a ride on my energy field, trying to suck
parasitic,
my energy. Say that again, Michelle?
parasitic,
Yeah.
parasitic entity, just, someone that is like a vampire, someone that's feeding off of your energy.
Hmm. Yeah, and they can
Hitchhiker
be
is a nice way of putting it.
they can be energetic, they can be physical, they can be these rope worms that I've passed through me, or they can be something that that is, someone like Matthew that can actually see that kind of stuff will see energetically. Um, does that help, Rose? So I hope that that made sense, Rose.
I'll share that what resonated with me was just how I'm kind of in this new development with someone, and I realized I'm projecting some past shit like on him. And I'm like, oh, like I'm just assuming because you're like this, I don't know, diehard skier mountain biker that like you're not going to be patient with me and you're going to want me to boot up in the parking lot and I want to boot up in the lot, and because in the past I've had partners that are like, come on, let's go. Like we have to, and it was just always just like, um, just treating me with no patience for that. And it's just very like aggressive and aggro and get on to these like adventures. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, and he was like, yeah, no, I'll wait all day for the right woman. Like you can like take your time. And it was like, oh, I'm really projecting a lot of my past trauma like onto this new person and making some assumptions from my past experiences and bringing them forward. So I needed to kind of reflect and see that. And there was something that Matthew was saying about triggers from past partners like coming up that resonated with me about that recent conversation. So
Yep. And I hope that that's a beautiful situation where you have someone patient enough to help you give you that's giving you the space to unbreak those patterns, right? Like I've never done that to you, have
And awareness is great. Just being aware of
I?
your past habits and that you're bringing that into the relationship because that's key. When you don't have awareness, you just keep repeating the same cycle over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Awareness is, a sign that you're healing from that. So that's really good because you can stop it. You can nip it in the bud when you're aware.
Hmm.
Totally. That's like I call those feedback loops that we get caught into these unconscious feedback loops where the energy will rise and like let's say where the trigger resides, maybe it's like self-worth or something and your partner or ex-partner said something and it's like it triggers that energy and it bumps right up against that energy of the self-worth and then it collapses back down into shame. And so it's like we get caught unconsciously in this feedback loop and we have to be able to recognize that, in order to break out of them, we have to like shed light and awareness into those patterns. And, like Kristen was talking about with the projection, that's often one of the results of these types of patterns is unconscious projection. So.
So Rose, when you're saying you have a question, I'm curious likelihood of someone's spirit being taken over or if hitchhikers are more entity based.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's varying degrees of that is what I've come across in working with people. There can be, like a hitchhiker can be as simple as literally like a hitchhiker, like a non-physical entity or a non-physical energy that just kind of wants a ride, and it can kind of glom onto our field a little bit, maybe create a little bit of interference. But then there can be other types of hitchhikers or other types of attachments that can result in complete infiltration, where the sovereign being is essentially hijacked by these other energies. And I mean that the most extreme that I've seen about a situation like that would be I encountered a woman once when I was in South Africa who had like a literal succubus energy that was attached to her. And you can see that, you know, the person that is there, the physical body, their presence is no longer driving the ship, you know. And so there are varying degrees of that kind of infiltration. For the vast majority that we would come across, it's more of an energy like a parasite, like Michelle mentioned. You know, it's like a non-physical energy that attaches onto our field. You know, we have incredibly powerful energy fields. We don't even remotely give ourselves enough credit for how much energy and power that human beings have. And it's like a really bright candle attracting moths to it, and they glom onto our energy in order to take energy. So the majority of situations, you know, would fall into those kinds of categories with different type of like parasitic attachment maybe. But it is possible. I mean, people can absolutely become hijacked, especially depending on what types of behavior they're involved in. And you know, when people get into working with energy in a dark way or like dark magical practices, you know, then I think infiltration is kind of the norm, unfortunately.
Deb asked if a child could be hijacked when they're only 10 months old or younger. I mean, physically, they're getting all of the lymphatic system and parasites that the mother had, and the mother, whatever she hasn't cleaned up from her mother and mother, like it's all passed down. So, I mean, that they can come in like it doesn't come in with a clean lymphatic or body system unless the mother has done proper cleansing before she has chosen to have a child. And then energetically, I'm sure it's possible as well, right?
And even from a traumatic childbirth,
That's
that
true.
can,
Totally.
so C-section, you know, that's a traumatic way for a child to enter into the world. So that can create um, a break in their energetic field too that would need recalibrating. But
Yeah.
mhm.
I'm an early intervention occupational therapist, and I'm a member of my state infant mental health association and trauma informed therapist. And I can just say definitely and younger than 10 months, like absolutely it can happen. So you know, there's trauma in utero, there's intergenerational trauma that is, um, you know, science proven back 3 generations, that I think we know that even without the evidence that it can go many more generations than that. But statistically been proven in studies. So just, yeah, it can for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of co-regulation with baby and primary caregiver happening. So depending upon the regulation of the primary caregiver and their state of arousal and emotional regulation and sensory regulation, can really, you know, obviously change the attunement of the child, and how that develops. So sorry, I couldn't
No,
Thank
help
you.
thank you.
myself with
That's
my
great.
experience to like jump in. I
It's
know I'm a
okay.
participant, but
Thank you for
No, that's
yeah,
sharing.
great.
No, participate.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. Like I have to tell them that part. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Deb, I'm sorry that you went through that, Deborah. Wow, that sounds pretty intense to have a baby screaming like that.
Actually, can you hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's my grandchild, and I was there when it happened. And he's really got a mean streak, and I think he has some entities, and I want to try to help him. This was 4 years ago.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's a different topic. But I was just kind of curious.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Um, I think now is a good time to, we're gonna have Matthew lead us through a fire ceremony in healing. So all of these, now that we kind of have some of these situations on our heart and our mind, we're going to just guide us through a practice to release this energy, and can kind of be something we could go.
Yeah, I have found, for myself, I learned this practice and working through my own healing around my heart, both with, when I was divorced after my divorce, and then a couple of subsequent relationships, did a lot of work by using fire. And so I really love to work with fire. It's one of my favorite elements. Those that know me well know that I work a lot with fire. When we run the cleanses, I've got a fire going the entire time pretty much, and during the evenings. And an energy of transmutation, perhaps more than any of the other elements. And so I really like to use it in these ways then when trying to clear these energies from my field. And so in the case of, let's say we've ended a relationship, and a significant relationship, and we're moving forward now for whatever the reason, I like to do a fire ceremony or a fire puja. And what I would do then is I like to write a letter, or maybe write a card or something like that. And what I start with, this is almost like a free association practice, like kind of free writing. I would start by like physically writing down with a pen on paper. And you can use, if you have like paper that has significance to you, I think that would hold more energy. Or maybe, your ex-partner had given you a card at some point that was blank to be able to use, for sending a card to someone, anything like that. If it has significance, I think that it'll have more of an impact. But you could just even get a yellow lined paper, it doesn't matter. But I like to start by writing down, like I'm addressing this letter to, my ex, and beginning with those things that I appreciate, and those things that I loved about her, those things that were fond memories maybe that rise while I'm doing the writing. And so it's just kind of like a free writing practice, starting with those positive energies, because we all have, no matter how poor a relationship can end, we got into the relationship for a reason. There were positive energies that were present, and maybe there was a lot of positive energies during the relationship. And so I feel like it's really an important part within our heart space to honor those things that were good, and to recognize that there were some good moments, and if there's not a lot of them, that's okay. And then I kind of transition then maybe into writing about, maybe certain things, maybe memories come up in that moment that were like little points of frustration, or things that experiences that we had where there, maybe we didn't feel really seen very well, or our voice wasn't heard in the relationship. And then as you keep on going, you can like transition, even if there are, anger that is coming forward, or rage, or deep, deep pain that is able to come forward, and just give yourself full permission to get it all down on paper. And so what you're doing in that process, energetically speaking, is you're taking this emotional energy, you're taking energy that is within your field, and you're physically translating it down into the material onto paper. And so by getting it down then onto the paper, it's like opening that path of transmutation. And so then what you do then is you light a fire. And if well, many of us that live here in the West, we have fireplaces, or if you have like a barbecue or a fire pit, if you don't have a fireplace, or even if you just have a candle, or a lighter, it can be any form of fire. But I personally like to build a fire. I have a fire pit. I don't have a fireplace, but I would build that fire in my fire pit, and then light the fire with real intention, because you're working with the magic of this elemental energy. And I typically then sit with the fire for a little while, and I meditate. And maybe I reflect upon the things that I just wrote in this letter. Maybe I have memories that are coming forward. And at a certain point, I'll feel the energy kind of align within myself. And then I say, okay, now I'm going to open up my letter, and I usually read that letter out loud. So then you're taking the etheric energy and the emotional energy, and by giving it voice, by speaking it, you're creating a sound frequency, an actual vibration that moves through the reality. It like ripples out, as a spherical emanation from you into the reality. And then with full intention, I burn that letter in the fire and sit there and watch it. And maybe, you can combine this with like photographs, maybe you've got some old photos, maybe you've got, his old sweater or something. If you got a big fire, you can even burn material like that and really use it as an opportunity for a cathartic release. And I have found every single time that I have done this for myself, and then also with clients that I've worked with or friends that I've helped guide, that every single time there is a healing that occurs. There is a release of energy out of your field. There's a clarity that comes in, and maybe you'd been feeling weight, like weight, holding you back, and that weight will release. So it really is, it's an incredible process, and is an ancient process. I mean, this is something that is imprinted deep within our DNA to be able to use fire for transmutation. I mean, if you go to Varanasi in India, they have the ghats where they're literally burning bodies, and they've been doing it for 6,000 years in that same location. So, this is ancient, and it's very powerful, and it's very simple. And, I would recommend it for sure. If there's anybody that is moving through a transition like this, or a loss, maybe your partner passed away, or something like that, there, you can use it to help transmutation of that energy, and then it liberates everything back out into the field, and all of that energy that was stuck begins to be retrieved and come back to you. So, I think that hopefully that all
I love
makes
using that
sense.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I have saved roses from my ex over the years, and I used to put them in nice little cute containers, like glass containers, where I had this little like gold box with a bow, and I would just save that bouquet of rose petals or buds. Just I would save them. And so when we divorced, that was one thing that I used was those rose petals that he gave me
It's
to
powerful.
do a ceremony, yeah, to release and cut cords and burn them. And I even did a bath water ceremony as well with that with the rose petals too. So that was kind of interesting to to soak and release, So, but yeah, the burning the items is so therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I've done it
Hmm.
for my relationship with Stella, like my dog that just passed. I mean, I have written out my grief, and it doesn't have to be bad, but it's a relationship that I needed to move through, not
Hmm.
because I have any,
Hard
hard,
feelings.
yeah,
Yeah.
but uh, it just needed to be released. So it was powerful to just write out all my feelings and gratitude, and be able to like, and it's a beautiful form of like releasing the prayers into the ethers too, with burning it.
And for their good as well, because when you're releasing those cords, you're actually releasing the cords for on both sides. So you're helping that
Absolutely.
person well, and you're cutting off that energetic communication
Yeah.
that keeps happening. Because a lot of times we could be doing all the work and thinking that we have moved on, then all of a sudden it's that thought that pops up, or whatever, and it's usually because the other person's still connected and thinking of you. And so you're just like, because that's happened to me. I'm like, what the heck is going on? It's been 3 years, like,
Right.
why is this still coming up? Oh, because I haven't, completely um, broken those cords yet. And he was still attached and still there. Hmm.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that the impact goes both directions as well. And not that we try to, project ourselves into that person's experience. But I've seen that personally repeatedly, where you go through and you do the fire ceremony, and then, like, let's say in my relationship with my ex-wife, we have an excellent relationship, but like if I were going through and burning something with intention like that, I may have a conversation with her later, and then the energy is resolved without even discussion. So it really has an impact, and it goes both directions.
Could you, could we do more than one at a time? Someone's asking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. That's I when I've done them for myself, it tends to be kind of focused, but absolutely you can do this process to whatever degree you want to go with, like, depth of your write. I mean, it could be 10 pages that you write, or it could be just one paragraph or one sentence, but you absolutely can do that because it's all about your intention, right? So as your intention is like the lens that is focusing the energy for the transmutation, and so you can absolutely add that in with multiple people. It's a good question.
Or you could do this, like Cassie and I, we do moon circles, and we do this monthly at the full moon. Last night is a really beautiful time to release what no longer serves you. It's a really great time to also do parasite cleansing, because this is when parasites are the most active. And Cassie's saying rice paper burns and disintegrates in midair.
Oh,
That's a
very
really
cool.
great thing to write on and burn. You could also do this for situations. Like if you have this fear of moving to a new place, you could
I
be.
don't have a fear of moving.
You could
I
just
just
put
want to
all things in and release.
I want to
And
add for the rice paper, if you do want to do that, you kind of need to roll it up almost like a toilet paper roll and then
Mm,
light it on the bottom and step away from it and it'll float up into the air and disintegrate. It's beautiful.
that's great.
Um, I'm ignoring the moving comment.
hmm.
Yeah, and with many people that you want to release, you can just say an overall general release that you're releasing all entities that are attached to you. Because you can do that. You can remove anything, any cords, all cords that are attached to me. I remove them and just make it a general removal as opposed to a more specific. I like to focus on just one at a time because I think it's a little bit more powerful when you can hone in and be laser focused on each person. But if it's in general and you're not sure where the energies are coming from or what's draining your energy, then I like to do an overall general one where it's let's remove it all, wherever whoever's bringing this energy to me, let's remove it and send it back to sender.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for that. Would you like to go into the preparing us for the loving connection?
Too, yes.
Thank you.
And we're going to go into the healthy love and connections. So the heart mind, our heart body connection. Now that we've addressed or we've released old energy, um, are we going on to this next section, or are we going to have Michael go through?
Matthew? I think it was just a general, I guess unless we all have paper and pen and fire right now, which I don't think. So I think we're just giving directions on how to do one. And I
Just
guess,
directions. Okay. I
yeah,
didn't know if you wanted
I
to
was,
go through an actual visualization. Not that we have to have fire, but
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to guide a visualization. I was thinking, like, as in sharing that fire puja as a very, a very effective way that we can all go through. But I'd be happy also if we would like to lead a visualization like that, or we can move
maybe
forward.
just to kind of show others like what they can be, implementing now to
Hmm.
release some cords.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah,
Um,
so everybody, if we want to just take a nice deep breath in. Inhaling love and the light, and exhaling, letting go of anything that does not serve us. Inhaling a nice deep breath in, calling in all of your energy back into our field, away from our day. Exhaling, letting go of anything that does not serve. And as we go forward here with an intention to clear up our energy field, to clear up our connective cords, go ahead and begin visualizing any cords that are connected in with an X, if appropriate, or with anybody, really, any type of a connective cord that does not serve you anymore. And you can see this just spontaneously illuminated in your awareness. You know, maybe you've been feeling some energy recently with someone, a little bit of strife recently that's been going on, and go ahead and visualize, you know, that person or whoever comes to mind first, and seeing these connective cords, seeing they look like little fiber optic ropes or like luminous filaments that are moving between you and the other person's body or their energy field. And as we sit here and we visualize these cords, again, our intention is what guides the energy. Whenever we're working with our energy, it's the intention, our intent that directs the energy. So let's go ahead then and begin visualizing as we're breathing deeply. Let's visualize a violet flame, a violet or purple flame that is surrounding our own body, our own energy field. And let's take a few breaths here like this, just getting more and more tuned, seeing yourself on the inside of a beautiful flickering violet flame, covering your whole body, maybe covering your whole aura. And we can start then with the root. So we'll work our way up from the root up to the crown. So visualizing if there is a cord there that you see that is connected between your root chakra and the other person's root chakra, you'll take an inhale breath, and then on the exhale breath, visualize that violet flame moving across that cord towards the other person. And then maybe you see that flame then envelop the other person's energy field. And as you keep breathing deeply and evenly, you begin to dissolve that cord, transmuting that cord. And maybe, you know, if this is a relationship that we're still in, a friendship or a family member, let's say, you know, maybe it's appropriate that that cord has just been detangled and it remains connected in with this person, or it's totally dissolved, you know, whatever is appropriate, whatever you see is the appropriate action. And when you feel like that's done, we can work our way up into the second chakra, visualizing that violet flame again on the exhale breath, moving across that connective cord to their energy field, dissolving any infiltrations, dissolving any negative cords that are connected in through each energy center. And then when you're ready, you can move upwards and inhale that violet flame around the solar plexus. And as you exhale, that beautiful purple flame moves across the connective cord, dissolving anything that does not serve, transmuting any old energies, any memories that rise as we're doing this, breathing deeply and evenly, gently. And then inhaling and moving your energy up to the heart with this violet flame around your heart. Let's take an extra couple of breaths here, seeing your flame lit up in that violet flame, seeing your heart lit up in the violet flame. Thanking our heart, the unconditional love, the expression of unconditional love beating millions of times during our life in full support of us. Thank you to our beautiful, perfect hearts forgiving ourselves for any wounds that we have suffered, any betrayals that we have experienced, any heartbreaks that we've gone through, letting all of that pain go. And as we inhale, seeing that violet flame surround our heart, and then exhale, and it moves across the connective cord to the other person's heart, dissolving anything that does not serve us. Inhaling, moving that energy up towards the throat chakra, our ability to communicate and express our truth, surrounding your throat chakra and the connective cord on your throat chakra in violet flame. And as you exhale, move that flame across the cord, dissolving anything that is infiltrated, anything of twisted miscommunication, any tangles. Reaching the other person, opening clear communication if appropriate, or dissolving connection and communication, taking space. When you're ready, inhaling and moving that energy up to the third eye, into the middle of the forehead, our seat of perception, surrounding the third eye in violet flame. Inhaling and exhaling, moving the violet flame along that cord to dissolve that cord, dissolving any interference in your sight and perception, any distortion that has been projected onto you or that we've projected onto them. And then finally inhaling and raising that up to the crown chakra, our connection into that unified field, into the God field, and just resting and allowing that violet flame here to burn for a second, clearing any distortion with our connection to our higher self, our most authentic expression. When you're ready, inhale and then exhale and move that violet flame across a cord that would be connecting the crown chakra to the other person, dissolving any interference that would disconnect us through relationship to our highest expression. Maybe when you're ready, then you can call all of those violet flames back along where your cords are or where they were. Pull that back into your field and breathe deeply with the every inhale, bringing in more and more of the fragmented pieces, retrieving them back to your field. Exhaling, letting go of anything that would interfere with your ability to have clear, open, beautiful, loving relationships with all beings. Seeing yourself surrounded in that violet flame, breathing deeply until you're ready to come back in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and close your energy field, trusting that all of those energies have been cleared and resolved, detangled, and healed.
Thank you, love. How did that feel for everyone? I had like some chills and could feel my nervous system relaxing, yawning. Anyone else have that? Beautiful.
Good parasympathetic response. Yawning, that's always a good thing. You're never bored when you're yawning. It's the parasympathetic nervous system.
Thank you. Thanks for staying a little over an hour this time so we can have that. Thank you.
Great. So yeah, thank you, Michelle. Please continue.
Michelle, you're muted. Michelle, you're muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
Now that we've released old energy, let's talk about how we can prepare ourselves for what's next. So, a big part of this work is shifting our internal landscape, detoxing emotionally, mentally, and even physically so that we can attract and create healthier relationships moving forward. So, one of the most important things to understand is that every relationship, whether it's been nourishing or toxic, it leaves an imprint, not just in our energy field, but in our physical body as well. And emotional experiences, especially those tied to deep connection, get stored in our tissues, our nervous system, and even our gut microbiome. So when we go through heartache or betrayal, our body actually holds on to that stress at a biochemical level. So if we don't process it or release it, it can manifest as anxiety, fatigue, inflammation, or even chronic health issues. This is why detoxification is so much more than just a physical cleanse. It's a full body, full being reset. So when we consciously work together or work to clear out old emotional imprints, we give our body the space to reset and heal. And this might mean nourishing ourselves with hydrating foods, supporting our detoxification pathways, or using breath work and movement to help process stored emotions. It's all connected. So, another key part of this is rewiring how we experience love, not just in relationships with others, but in the way that we care for and honor ourselves. So, if we spent years in patterns of abandonment, rejection, or fear, for those emotional states become familiar even if they aren't healthy. So as we clear old energy, we also need to cultivate new emotional experiences, ones that reinforce that safety, trust, and openness to love. This is where intentional self-care and nervous system regulation come in. Things like daily grounding practices, heart opening foods, and conscious breath work can help you retain or retrain our bodies to feel safe and love again. Even something as simple as placing a hand on your heart and breathing deeply, as we just did, can help shift your state from stress and contraction into relaxation and expansion. We'll be diving deeper into this next week in our session on the heart and body connection. Love as a healing force is our next webinar, where we'll explore how love and positive emotions actually influence physical health and vitality. And then in our final session on Nourish Your Heart and Body Practices for Lasting Renewal, we'll be covering ways to sustain this healing in both your body and your energy field. So just take a moment now and think about what you're ready to welcome into your life. Drop a word in the chat that represents this new energy that you want to feel, whether that's peace, trust, aligned, love, or anything else that resonates with you right now. Just pause to think about that and then just drop a word in the comments to tell me what you're ready to welcome into your life now.
I love these. Courage, freedom. I put expansiveness, vibrant, freedom, love, joy, self-love.
Joy.
Hmm.
Yes, joy and peace. I'd have to add to that.
Beautiful, everyone. So I'm just going to take a moment to integrate everything we explored tonight. We talked about soul contracts and energetic cords and emotional detoxing, physical detoxing, briefly, but we started shifting our focus towards what's next. So if this work resonates with you, Michelle and I, what we talk about, if you're ready to go deeper, not just emotionally, but physically, we are leading a cohort at the end of February that starts called From Waste to Well for Waste Loss for Longevity Gain. It's a 16-week program where we guide you through detoxification on every level. We clear old patterns, we restore balance and vitality, and find that homeostasis in our body. So we will send details out about that with the replay email that you'll get. And if you're feeling called to that, we'd love for you to join. And if not, that's okay. Like, take what you get here and join us for the next Thursdays. But this is kind of like a little taste of what we want to be building in our cohort together. So if you have anything else that's on your mind or you want to share or drop in the chat tonight, drop it in. We can stay and answer a couple questions if anyone has any deeper questions. But we're just really grateful that everyone was present and shared their energy on a Thursday night with us. So thank you all so much. And thank you, Matthew, for sharing space with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me.
Mm-hmm.